All right, we're back with you inside the Africa Forum. This is Running Africa, and thank you so much for joining us inside of the forum this morning. You are welcome. Remember, we're streaming live on Instagram, and we're streaming live on Facebook, so you can get us in these places. We're on all of our social media platforms. IRFM social media handles include Instagram is iriefmofficial, Facebook is iriefm. Is it iriefmja? I think it's iriefmja. We're on the 107s. TikTok is iriefm 107. And I suppose if you find us in one place, you'll find us everywhere. We're iriefm.net. And of course, you can download our app, the iriefm mobile app, to your phones, and then you can listen to us on the go. But you can also listen to us on YouTube, wherever you are. So thank you so much for joining.
When we lose our African connection, we lose our world connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. Without the African connection, we are a disjointed people begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
All right, my very special guest is online, Professor Horace Campbell. Professor Campbell was with us last week. He is back with us this week. He is a peace and social justice activist. He's also a professor of African American Studies and Political Science at Syracuse University and a chairperson of the Global Pan-African Movement, North American Chapter. He's the author of Global NATO and the Catastrophic Failure in Libya, Monthly Review, Press 2013. Please get that book, Global NATO and the Catastrophic Failure in Libya. If you haven't yet, you know we've been reading it in the Running African Book Club. Professor Horace Campbell is joining us again. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming back once again inside of the Africa Forum, AQUAB.
Thank you, Campbell. Greetings to everybody, everywhere. I think from your announcement, it is clear that the reach of IRFM is now global, so we can greet people in all parts of the world, but I continue to greet our brothers and sisters right there in Jamaica, yes, as we wake up this morning to another week of warfare and destruction against the people of West Asia.
And I want you to put this in context for us, Prof, because we have been talking about this. We've been listening to the different legacy media, mainstream media. If you listen to mainstream media, you're more dunce than when you turn on the TV or the radio. We try to search out the information as much as we can on YouTube and the digital platforms. That is not so much of a struggle, but it's there. But I want you to put this war in context for us. The current confrontation that we're seeing, the attack on Iran. The U.S. has not been able to tell us why it's gone there. Israel, we can just guess as to why they're there. But one of the things that you have said, that this is a desperate, and you said this last week, reaction of an empire trying to slow its own decline. Let's start there.
Very, very, very much so. Not only an empire trying to slow its decline, but an empire that is in a society where there is total disregard for human life, for the well-being of the environment, and for basic laws of dignity of human beings. The fact is that the present hostilities being waged against the people of Iran, and which is affecting the people of all the societies in West Asia, is actually unprecedented in its scope, because the present leadership of the United States of America has said that they're waging war without apology, without hesitation or mercy. Now, I want to repeat the words of the Secretary of Defense. He calls himself the Secretary of War of the United States of America. Without apology, without hesitation, or without mercy. No, that is the language of war crimes. It is the language of war crimes in a condition where there is a war that has no basis in international law. It is not a war for self-defense. And as you stated, the government, leaders, the military authorities in the United States have not given a justification for this war against the people of Iran. The nature of this war is one that is killing citizens indiscriminately. And the first day of the war, we saw more than 150 school children being killed in Iran. And we've seen that in Lebanon. 1 million persons have been displaced, with thousands being killed. Why is the United States and Israel carrying out a war that does not have the sanction of international law, and a war which, under the laws of the United Nations, the United States could be held accountable? The reason the United States is abrogating international law is because of the recklessness of the current leadership of the United States of America. The recklessness stems from the fact that the present leadership that has called out thousands and thousands of troops called ICE, Immigration, Customs and Enforcement, against the people of the United States of America, a government that is oppressing its own people by surveillance and arrest, but this government that is at the same time declaring that it can occupy and take over countries. It can take over the Panama Canal. It can take over Greenland. It can take over Canada. A government that sent its military forces into Venezuela to kidnap the leader of Venezuela and his wife. Why are they doing this? And as we've written into Pambazuka, the United States of America operated with the dollar as a currency of world trade for the past 80 years, since 1944, since the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, when the world agreed that the United States currency, the dollar, would be the currency of world trade, and the United States would back up the dollar by having 1 ounce of gold for $35. At that time, the price of the United States dollar was tied to gold. Now, because the United States have been fighting wars against people who want their independence and liberation, especially in the war against the people of Vietnam, the United States was not able to keep its commitment of $35 to an ounce of gold. Because since 1971, we've had what is called a floating international exchange rate. Now, that floating exchange rate could survive during the Cold War. That was called the Cold War because the United States would say to Germany and to Japan, as they said in the Plaza Accord, that we are defending you from communism. But since 1991, at the end of this so-called Cold War, the Europeans set out to establish the euro. The countries of the third world, especially the countries in ASEAN countries, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, after the 1997 crisis, sought to protect themselves from the IMF strictures. And since 2000, China has recovered as a major source of the international economy. In this context, the United States has depended on its military to secure its position in the world, what we have written and called the military management of the international system. So that the dollar as the currency of world trade now depends on the United States military.
Finish your sentence, your thought. I'm going to take a break.
Let me just finish this point.
Yes.
To the point now where, as we speak, the dollar is $5,000 to the ounce of gold in a situation where the United States debt is $38 trillion. This means that many countries in the world are trying to get out of the control of the United States, who use the indexing of the price of oil in dollars to be able to ensure that the United States dollar remains the currency of world trade. Russia, Iran, Venezuela were three countries that joined up with China to set up what is called the Petro-Yuan, which is a new international trading system. Now, Russia, they put sanctions against. Venezuela, they went and seized Venezuelan oil, and they're moving to destroy Iran.
Mm-hmm.
The United States, in its inability to compete in the new multipolar world, is using its military to destroy countries, as they're trying to do with Iran, to seize resources as they've done in Venezuela, and seize resources as they've done in Libya. So the future of the world is based on the United States using its military power to seize resources to remain the dominant economic power in the world.
Hold that thought for me, Prof. Let me take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Obtain high-quality maps and a drone aerial image services through the National Land Agency. The time by the NLA is...
Now 9 minutes going up to 9 o'clock.
Every day, Rosie has a glass of fruit drink with breakfast, an energy drink on the way to work, a flavored water with lunch, and 2 glasses of soda with dinner, which adds up to more than 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. And all that extra sugar could bring on obesity. Are we drinking ourselves sick? 71% of Jamaicans support a tax on sugary drinks. Help tackle obesity and protect our children's future. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
Well, this is Sean Stam, and I'm representing for this Big Bad Kite Festival. It's Easter Sunday, April the 5th. I know Odyssey Park, Brownstown, and I'll be performing live, Itchy, Scratchy, alongside Tommy Lee, Cash. I don't know in a Daidu. I don't know in a portion to other artists I got there, you know. Unity Singer. I don't know in a kids ride free all day. Admission at only 1,500 pre-sold. 2,000 at the gate for the kids them. 2,000 pre-sold and 3,000 at the gate for the adults them. Yeah man, Brownstown Kite Festival and Family Fun Day.
Roll out! We're taking over!
Portmore, the iriefm Plaza and supermarket rollouts will be coming your way for the first time in 2026. The parking lot of June Supermarket Wholesale, 68 Newlands, Portmore, will take the spotlight on Saturday, March 21, as iriefm rolls out for a grand pre-Easter celebration. From noon to 6 p.m., come vibe with the likes of DJ Lollipop.
Hey, DJ Lollipop, you are the number 10 for the radio.
DJ MC Teddy.
MC Teddy been there before.
And DJ Acid. As well as several local recording artists. As we take the festivities to you, there will be lots of fun and games, as well as prizes and giveaways from our supporting sponsors. All day, there will be something for everyone. It's iriefm's Plaza and Supermarket rollouts at June Supermarket Wholesale, Saturday, March 21. Make sure you turn out to party with the nation's #1. Brought to you by Honey Bun, taste the tradition, Jamaica's best Easter bun. Vitamalt, vitalize your body. New pack, more than just value. Jambisco Excelsior, Jamaica's favorite. Confectionery and snacks, all extreme. Bigger crunch, bolder taste, all extreme. Getty's Grant, cool kids, juice that fuels the fun. Magna Rewards, swipe, earn, redeem.
Panadol Rapid, 5 times faster than other paracetamol brands.
Surge, a milk for everyone. And June Supermarket Wholesale Limited, variety, service, value. 68 Newlands, Portmore. Telephone telephone 876-998-1105.
Some me roll. Yes, them up Irish FM.
Good production.
Money Fridays is here. Yes, Friday is Money Day on iriefm. As we put money in your pocket for playing Money Fridays in the wake-up call 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and 9 a.m. every Friday. Yes, you heard it right. 3 chances each Friday to win big. Just call iriefm and guess the 3-digit combination for the money chest and win anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. Yes, it's that simple. And you can call as often as you wish within the allotted game time. No strings attached.
Sponsored by Massive Auto Parts and Car Sales. Link us first. Pineapple Ultra Rios. 876-298-6413. We got you covered.
That's Money Fridays this and every Friday at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and 9 a.m. on iriefm with me, Courtney Mack.
All right, we're back with you. We're inside of the Africa Forum. This is Running African, and Professor Horace Campbell is on the line with us. We're talking about the American Empire in decline and the war on Iran. Prof, you have said that for nearly 80 years, the U.S. dollar has been the backbone of the global financial system, but that I hear you saying that we could be witnessing right now the end of the dollar-dominated world economy. How so? What are the indicators pointing to this? And what are we seeing that is already telling us that this is exactly where we are?
Well, I would not use a strong word as the end, because the present moment, there is no competitor for the dollar as a currency of international trade. I would say the decline. That is, there are countries seeking alternatives to the dollar because the United States has used the dollar as a weapon, what they call the weaponization of the dollar. And the main instrument for this weaponization is the United States Treasury and OFAC. And that is what they've used against Iran since 1979 with sanctions. They've used against Libya, against North Korea, against China, against Russia. Now, the use of sanctions and weaponization of the dollar, as we discussed last week, sanctions against the people of Cuba, are not used for economic reasons. They're used for political reasons. In the case of Cuba, as we discussed last week, the Cuban society wanted to develop a place where the needs of citizens for health, food, and social well-being came before profits. And the United States considered this a threat. When Libya considered using its resources to back up the African currency to get out of the dollar-dominated international financial system, the United States bombed and destroyed Libya. And so what we're seeing in the entire international system is that societies such as China, Brazil, Russia, India have sought to develop an alternative which was called BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, to develop a trading system. And BRICS now has close to 12 countries that are members of BRICS. So there's an alternative trading economic system that is developing. But the dollar has declined from, say, 30 years ago. 70% of the trade in international goods being traded through the dollar to today where it is 57%. And in that condition of the decline, the United States sees the writing on the wall and is using military power to make up for economic power. And it is not any radical who is saying the situation has changed. It is the Prime Minister of Canada, the closest ally of the United States of America, who said that there's a rupture in the international trading and economic situation. And in that rupture, the United States is intensifying the rupture by going to war. And this war against the people of Iran is going to be as decisive in the international political economy as the Second World War was in reshaping global alliances, global trading system, and global economic relations. And the place that we must pay attention to in this program is how to strengthen Africa in this new global alliance. Because everyone is talking about China, or about Europe, or about Latin America, or about Russia. And in this new global reconfiguration, they're all thinking that Africa is going to be a puppet of one of these powers.
Well, let us talk about
our
Africa.
Constituency. The most important outcome of this war is for the peace and to end the war against the people of Iran, and for the people of Africa to build economic cooperation and monetary cooperation not to be exploited by Europe or China or the United States or Russia.
All right, I want to come back and talk about Africa, Prof. I have to take another quick break, but also to look at, there's an interesting thing I saw, and thanks to my brother Akeem, who sent me this information this morning, that's coming out of Sudan, where the UAE has been taught, and I think this has been proven, to be actively involved in the wars in Sudan. But since the war on Iran, and the UAE now finds itself on the back foot with the destruction of the American bases there, that the situation in Sudan is seeing a change, a positive change, and this is interesting. But I also want to look at East Africa, as you have pointed us to, and continental Africa, to see what are the opportunities from here and how we work together. Let me take a quick break and come back.
Get more miles with the Ruby's Ultratech. Fuel the difference for peak performance and maximum savings. Drive more and save more. The time by Ruby's Ultratech is
now 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I know that our sales manager, Nicholas Evans, is listening. And Nick, I just want to apologize because we seem to be a little bit behind in taking the ads. So let me do this.
We know it's difficult, but don't lose hope. Jamaicans are a strong people with an unbreakable spirit. We will rise again. The time by the office of the Prime Minister is...
Now, 2 minutes after 9 o'clock, Professor Horace Campbell is on the phone lines. He's pointing us now to Africa, to continental Africa, as we try to understand and grasp what is happening around us, that we have a bigger consideration. Let's go to Africa, Prof. And if you could include in that how some of these Arab states, Gulf corporations, if you will, have been involved in Africa, and what the impact of this war will be on that status quo.
Well, thank you. I'm curious about your producer, the one who gave you the information about what has improved in the Sudan.
No, it's a listener. It's a listener who has sent me information which I verified. The reporting coming out of the Sudan, and you know, the UAE's involvement in the Sudan is something that we have been talking about over time. But he sent me this information this morning, which I have verified, that the RSF is a little bit on the back foot because the UAE is so distracted from, this is coming out of the Sudan, that it's so distracted by its own problems with you know, the US bases there being destroyed. And so the UAE is heavily involved in Africa. This is what we know. So the question then is, what's the impact on continental Africa and places where we have the Gulf corporations involved in?
Thank you. It is very important for your listeners to know the role of the Gulf Cooperation Council, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Oman in destroying Africa, plundering African resources, and militarizing Africa and supporting anti-people elements in Africa. In the case of Libya, as you know, those were the countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, that sent military forces to destroy Libya, and they keep the faction that is in Benghazi afloat militarily. In the case of the UAE, it is a particularly despicable regime.
Yes.
Because it is a regime that is financing and supporting genocidal actions in the Sudan. So when someone says that the situation has improved, the situation in the Sudan is appalling in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of persons at the hands of the RSF, a group that is backed by the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, a country that is plundering the gold from Sudan because the UAE is hedging its bet because of the crisis of the US dollar. All of these countries want to get gold out of Africa. And the UAE in particular has been active all across Africa in logistics, in military relations, control of ports, and in plundering resources. And so the UAE is particularly odious because it's a country where the people do not have democratic rights. 90% of the people who work in UAE are not from the UAE. The country is comprised of only 10% of the population has citizens. It is an odious country that established itself as a center for trade, where everybody talks about going to Dubai. But the UAE should be brought before the International Criminal Court for the crimes it is committing in Africa. And it is an ally of the United States of America in this war against the people of Palestine and the people of Iran, the people of Africa. So the Gulf Cooperation Council, this is an alliance of very, very rich anti-democratic governments like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and so forth, who are in alliance with the most despicable political elements. In fact, one of the elements that operates from the UAE is a man called Eric Prince that has a company that is well known as a mercenary force. They call them private military contractors. Those are the kinds of people who are attracted to the UAE at this time.
And we see them turning up in the Epstein files, and I know I'm going left with that, but we see them turning up in the Epstein files in very, very serious ways. As a matter of fact, Ben Suleiman, who had to step down recently, was seen, I mean, I've seen this myself, writing to Jeffrey Epstein saying, "I love the torture video you sent me." He had to step down. He is in partnership with Jamaica. Jamaica has embarked on port, developing ports and UAE tourism, and they have announced this. But the person who they've been working with on this, because we see the pictures and we've been reading the articles, is Ben Suleiman. I'm bringing that in because you see, it's very important to understand how this whole area and what we're talking about when we talk about a global catastrophe, to use your word, Prof, how this connects back to Jamaica, that we are not immune from what is unfolding.
Pablo, I would like you to repeat for me and for your listeners what you said about the UAE in Jamaica. I would like you to repeat that, because when you repeat it, I'm going to repeat what it means for Tanzania, what it means for Somalia, what it means for... Please repeat.
So Jamaica has embarked on this partnership with the UAE, and being announced from last year into this year, and I think they've kind of ramped it up early this year, which is to say tourism, they're now looking to the UAE for tourism. So they have entered into some kind of tourism partnership with the UAE. They're also expanding the ports, PORTS. So they're going into that industry, and they're also using the UAE for that. The extent to which the UAE is sponsoring this, I think, is for us to find out. But I know it's a partnership. And we know that the person who has been fronting this is Ben Suleiman. Ben Suleiman was forced to step down. He is he's a second in line, and the brother to Ben Suleiman from Formula One, F1 football. Racing. He had to step down just 3 or 4 weeks ago because he has turned up in the Epstein files many, many times, and is the one who actually wrote to Epstein to say, "I love the torture video you sent me," and as a radio station, we are bound to say, allegedly, and we're bound to say the fact that you're in the Epstein files don't mean that you've done anything wrong, but this is the situation. This is the context.
Thank you. I wanted you to repeat, because everything you said is what the people of Tanzania are saying. The people of East Africa are saying. The people of Tanzania have seen where the elements of the DP world have come in to take over the ports and the logistics. That means they can smuggle in and out things out of the country. They have come into Tanzania to say they're involved in tourism. They've taken over the Serengeti and removing the Maasai. So here is a government that is an odious government that is representing itself to countries such as Jamaica and Tanzania and many other countries as an investor with billions of dollars. Now, I am asking the Jamaican economists, the Jamaican teachers, that they should be writing about this every day, and they should be calling on their parliamentary representative to break any agreement with the United Arab Emirates, because the United Arab Emirates is supporting crimes against humanity in all parts of the world. The people of Tanzania have a campaign to try to expose their governments in taking away the land of the Maasai, in giving large territory in the Serengeti. The Serengeti is supposed to be a national park, which is bigger than Jamaica, and they've given free rein to the UAE in this place. So this is the situation we face.
We must look then at the trade deals that they have signed, because we haven't looked to see what the land connection might be, and I think this is critical for us to do. This is a role for journalism. I implore.
You see, this is all done in the name of investment.
Yes.
And there is a point at which investment does not make sense. This is creating. It is going to criminal mafia force and say, bring the money that you're getting from ill-gotten gains into my country, and we'll turn a blind eye to this. And this is the kind of neoliberal world that we've been open to. So the other point I thought you were going to raise,
yes,
in the Caribbean was the role of Z, that is Blackwater, and Eric Prince in Haiti, and the role of Eric Prince and the UAE. So the Caribbean, Haiti, and Jamaica is not immune to what is happening globally. So let us use whatever resource we have. When the 1975 oil crisis was afoot, the intellectuals in Jamaica, Norman Gervin, and people like Persistent Poverty, George Beckford, Al Francis, they were in the forefront of pushing for a new international economic order and creating a new platform within the United Nations and within international trading organizations like UNCTAD to bring new rules to the international economy. We are at a similar time where we need intellectuals, activists, and social groups in the Caribbean come to the forefront against this war against the people of Iran and against the people of Palestine. And again, this is also a war against the people of Jamaica.
And I want to, you had mentioned earlier that when this is over, or on the backside of this, because I don't know the extent of over, that we're going to see the same kind of shocks that we saw after World War II. And so the question then is, are we in, and I asked you this last week, are we in World War III? Are we at the start of World War III, or this is a precursor to World War III? And what are the implications, a question we didn't get to, for continental Africa with what's happening right now?
Well, this war, we're in its third week, and the President of the United States has declared that they've destroyed Iran. But in this third week of the war, the Iranians are still fighting and to defend their society. So whatever information they're presenting on Iran is not correct. And when you introduced this program, you talked about the role of the mainstream media. Probably 1 or 2% of what you're hearing on the mainstream media. I'm glad what you're hearing on the mainstream media is correct. I'm glad you have this map up, because if the listeners look at this map, you'll see the Straits of Hormuz, which is what is called the Persian Gulf. And in the Straits of Hormuz, there's that little choke point where 20% of the oil in the international trading system moves. That has been closed. All of the countries in this Gulf are now affected by the war. Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Oman, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, and Palestine. Now, that war will have a definite effect on the countries of East Africa, Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia. It is already affecting those countries, because in the case of Somalia, DP World has attempted and is in the process with Israel to break up Somalia and to put a port for Israel and the UAE in Somalia. And that is going against the African Union and the integrity of the Somali people. So across Africa, Egypt, which has been affected negatively, Ethiopia, which is affected, all across North Africa, the people of Africa has been affected, and this war is going to affect the people negatively. Now, the question you asked me is, will this war be like World War II? Well, it is difficult to say. It will depend on the extent to which the United States prolong the attempted destruction of the people of Iran. Now, your listeners should know that when the United States overthrew, but by the way, Iran is a country of 95 or 94 million persons. Iran is a multi-ethnic, multinational society. When the Iranian Revolution took place in 1978 to 1979, the United States inspired a war against the people of Iran using Saddam Hussein in Iraq. That war lasted for 8 years. They thought Iran would be destroyed within weeks. Iran is a country of a long history. This is the Kingdom of Persia. The name of Persia was changed to Iran in 1935. They fought that war for 8 years. If this war goes on for any longer than 6 months or 1 year, the repercussions of this war will bring in more countries than the countries I've listed. And then we are seeing a greater conflagration in the world. It is dependent on the extent to which the people of the United States can curb its political and military leadership from plunging the world into a catastrophe.
I saw a poll last night. As a matter of fact, I saw, it's about 2 o'clock this morning, that I saw President Trump on Truth Social tweeting that a poll that from Newsmax, so we know what we're talking about, right? Serious right-wing stations. And the poll was showing that a majority of the American people, no, this is Newsmax, remember this, so this is not scientific and it is totally wrong. But the president retweeted this. This is to show you what his thinking is, that the majority of the American people are in favor of the war, especially when they are told about what the dangers of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is. And then he goes on to say, the MAGA is like 90% in agreement, and then for the rest of America, we're looking at something in the 60s or the 70%. That I think should tell us what his thinking is in terms of where to go from here. He has also said he has also tweeted on Truth Social to the Europeans, come and go and defend the Strait of Hormuz. If you do this, then I will do my best to protect you while you are there. What does this mean in essence, and is this contradictory? Let me take a quick break, Prof, and we'll come back with that answer.
Expungement of criminal records provides eligible Jamaicans with a second chance at life. Apply today. The time by the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs is
now 9:20.
Touchdown in the island. Though, is it a new one? This a container massive. All parts inclusive. Yo, them are body parts, engine, suspension, interior, accessories. Everything you gonna need if you carry that in here go. That be running pan that before them done. New container arrived. Massive auto parts and car sales. 158 Main Street, Pineapple Place, Ocho Rios. Call us now. 876-298-6413. 876-974-7197 or WhatsApp 561-1223. Massive auto parts and car sales.
The following is paid for by the People's National Party.
This is Julian Robinson. Jamaicans are still picking up the pieces from Hurricane Melissa. Houses still need to be fixed. Businesses still need to be rebuilt. Families still need help. And what does the government do at this point? They reach into your pockets and they are extracting $18 billion in new taxes. We are saying no. Taxing families who are already stretched in a shrinking economy is the wrong call at the wrong time. The PNP has a different approach, one that puts money back into housing, communities, and into your hands. In my budget presentation, I laid out a responsible alternative. No new taxes. NHT money returned to where it belongs. Building affordable homes. A recovery plan that gets you back on your feet. Because at the end of the day, a budget is about balancing the books while balancing people's lives.
The proceeding was paid for by the People's National Party.
Saltfish from Norway is docking at the Port Royal Pirates and Seafood Festival, and you can't miss it. Join us Sunday, March 15 for vibes, food, games, prizes, surprises, and fun can done. Greet Chef Brian Lumley in our booth as he serves up tasty saltfish dishes from classic favorites to creative new bites. Come find us and taste crispy saltfish, callo fritters, and more. Sunday, March 15, it's Saltfish from Norway at the Port Royal Pirates and Seafood Festival, 2 to 9 p.m. Saltfish from Norway, the real one.
Interex Distributors Mega Tile Clearance Sale is happening this month. Yes, all tiles must go. Ceramic, porcelain, borders, and inserts at jaw-dropping prices. Create the look you love with premium tiles for less. Hurry to our showroom at 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston. Call 876-501-2516, 876-550-5689. Interex Distributors Tile Clearance is now on.
It's blood, it's sweat, it's the injuries, the fall, the rise, the records, the starting blocks, the landing pit, the steeple, the races on the track and the battles in the field, the baton, the hurdles, the pole, the podium, gold, silver, and bronze. These and other elements comprise the track and field passion that meets excitement when the mirror of glory reflects the desire for victory with a tinge of defeat. and it will all unfold over 5 glorious days, March 24 to 28 at the National Stadium. The action is coming on once again to the Sporting Choice IRFM, and we'll have top-class coverage from trackside with daily reports, updates, first-class summary, analysis and commentary. Coverage of the 2026 Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championship is brought to you by Beverly Hills Pharmacy, guiding you to a better health. 94M Old Oak Road, Kingston.
No glove, no love, Slam Goliath condoms. Go long, go strong.
Rubis Energy, fuel the difference with Rubis.
Top of Things Hardware, Hatfield, Manchester. You can't beat a winner. Grace Foods, Grace Good Moves. Make a good move today. Western Union, your Western Union money transfer supports the future of Jamaican athletics. Kendall, just give me Kendall. Vigaton 2, strength to do a ton of things. Karnak Hardware, Main Street, Salem, Runaway Bay, 876-973-5535. Karnak Hardware, a tradition of great things.
And New Horizons Pharmacy, we source, we supply, we satisfy. Call us at 876-622-3370. That's coverage of the 2026 Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championship. March 24 to 28 at the National Stadium on the nation's #1 iriefm.
Speak truth to the people. To identify the enemy is to free the mind. Free the mind of the people. Speak to the mind of the people. Speak truth.
All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. It's Running African, and Professor Horace Campbell is live with us. We are broadcasting live on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on all IRFM platforms. Once you find us in one place, you'll be able to find us everywhere. So get going. We're kind of getting into the last segment. So tell your friends, and you'll be able to watch this later on, though, because we'll put it out on. It will remain on YouTube if they don't take it down. We're so radical around here, and I'll share it also on my Facebook page. So and other platforms, IG and so on. So thank you for staying with us, Prof. As we went into the break, one of the things that you said is the ability to whether or not we can tell if the United States is on the backside of this, that we are close to what World War II, the conditions of World War II, or whether or not we're even in World War III, will be dependent on what happens, what America does. And so that's the reason I pointed out to you what the president was saying. But we do also know that there must be a cabal, if you will, the Rothschild and the Rockefellers and the J.P. Morgans, and I dare say even the Carneys in the background, the neocons, if you will, in the background, because at the end of the day, as you pointed out earlier, this goes back to banking. Follow the money. The financial order is from the Medicis to the Patsis to the Rockefellers to the Rothschilds. It's the same war. This is how I'm reading this. So does it tell you anything?
Well, I think the people you're talking about, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, that is old news. We have a new group of people who are in artificial intelligence, who are in digital currencies, and into new cryptocurrencies, and they're elevating United States military power beyond the United States government. These are the people who control Twitter, who control Facebook.
The Peter Thiels and Palantir.
And they support the state of Israel.
Yes.
So the people of Jamaica have a vested interest in ensuring that this World War III does not come about. In 1945, when World War II was ending, the Jamaican people fought in 1938 so that the Jamaican people would come out of colonialism. In 1945, when the United Nations was created, Jamaica was not an independent state. And yet, the Jamaican people found ways to register their support for international law and for ending all forms of warfare. Jamaica is a small society. In the context of the Caribbean, it is calling for what the people of Iran are calling for: reparations and reparative justice. The Iranian people have brought attention to the world of the crimes of apartheid. The Jamaican people, through its spokesperson, cultural artists, have said, like Peter Touch says, we must fight against apartheid. So the Jamaican people cannot stand by while apartheid and genocide is carried out in Palestine, while what is going on in Sudan or in Iran. Now, where does IRIE FM come in? IRIE FM is part of the collective voice of those in the world who want peace and an end to this war. You have a role to play in the United States of America, among your communities of the Caribbean people in the United States of America, in Europe, in other parts of the world, to support peace. Yes. The media in North America is presenting information that you read from that poll about the support for this war. From where I sit, I do not see that support, not even from members of the ruling party of the United States for this war. But we must magnify the voices of those in the United States and elsewhere that is calling for an end to this war against the people of Iran, end to the Israeli genocide against Palestine. And those forces the Jamaican people should align with. I again come back to the role of the church and religious institutions in the Caribbean that are being called on to support Israel and the United States because they're carrying out the hand of God. We must carry out active intellectual, political, and ideological work at every section of our society to explain to them that the abrogation of international law, which is being carried out by killing the people of Iran, is a danger for the people of all parts of the world. We should big up those organizations and citizens in the United States that are calling for an end for the war, and also those leaders in other parts of the world, in Africa. And I urge your listeners to read Pambazuka News when we have written about how this war is affecting Africa. But inside of Europe, the European leaders as a bloc is no longer a force in world politics. But I want to mention two leaders in Europe that we should identify as standing up to the United States of America. The leadership of Ireland, who have said they will not support what the United States is doing in Iran. The leadership of Spain, that is saying you cannot use our territory as a launching pad to destroy the people of Iran. And this is the kind of alliance that IRIE FM should be linked to. You should be establish linkages with radio stations in Spain, with radio stations in Ireland, radio stations in Nigeria, radio stations in Kenya, so that IRIE FM becomes a global diplomat for peace. That stations like these, you do not depend on people to go only to YouTube or the other platforms. That we should enter into a partnership with global Pan-Africanists, with Pambazuka News, with those forces in the peace movement, in the global Pan-African movement. We're having a discussion on Wednesday about the war in Iran. Why? Because the trade union movement in the United States of America is being told that Iran is an oppressive government, oppressing its women and killing its people, and the workers of the United States in the trade union, the AFL-CIO, must support the United States government. So at every level of society, we must be engaged in this intellectual, ideological war for peace and for social justice.
You're so right about that, Prof. I think that more than any time, this is a kind of networking and partnership that media needs. We do have a responsibility to our listeners and to the nation, to the Caribbean, to ensure that we are bringing truth to them. It is very, very difficult as it is now. We're told we're, disinformation, misinformation, we're in a post-truth age, all of that rampant, and our people are now exposed only to the CNNs and the network channels from out of the United States. This, of course, is one of the reasons why, as you mentioned, the church, we go there again, that so many of our people who are, and our elders especially, who are so glued to CNN to get information from here, are taking sides, interestingly, with people like I heard Vijay Prashad talk about some of these people being dangerous, the most dangerous people in power right now, people like Marco Rubio, people like Pete Hegseth, and so on, because they're carrying this faith-based line, which goes back to the Bible. How important is it, Prof., for our people to understand that this has nothing to do with anything to do with Christianity, and that this is the work of the most the wickedest of the lot of them? How important is it to get this through to our people, and how do we even begin to do that? It's pretty hard work, I can tell you.
It should not be so hard in Jamaica.
Oh, it's very hard.
It shouldn't be so hard in Jamaica, because from the beginning, after the genocide of the Taino people in Jamaica, they came to tell the Africans in Jamaica that it was the Christian church that wanted them to be enslaved. And every leader in Jamaica that was against slavery was a religious leader, like Sam Sharp or Paul Bogle. So we have a tradition in Jamaica, in the United States, in all parts of Africans were enslaved, where religious leader opposed slavery. Sam Sharp in Montego Bay, in fighting against slavery, used the Bible and used concepts of freedom from the Bible. We must stand up against those so-called evangelicals in the United States who are using the Bible to support racism. We have a tradition, as we said last week, that in the United States of America, there are traditional religious leaders, such as Martin Luther King, who fought for peace, for the rights of workers. The last campaign that Martin Luther King was on was for the rights of the garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee. We have a tradition like that in the Caribbean, where there are religious leaders who stood on the side of working peoples. And when we have religious leaders who want to make money and are linked up to despicable forces in Israel and the United States of America, we must use every platform to expose them and oppose them.
Prof, I'm going to make this our final question, only because we intended to have you on for a much longer time, but we have to make a link with Muta Baruka, and I know he's taking the time from you. So Muta, please ask Prof for the time. He called in just now, wanted to talk about one of our colleagues who have passed, and so we're going to do that in the last 15 minutes. But when historians look back at this period, will this be the moment when we moved from the old order that Mark Carney referenced at Davos into the new order, which is you talked about the technocrats, who the Peter Thiels and the Palantirs and so on. Will this be the moment that we remember and recognize as a pivot, the move away from the old order into the new techno-feudalism and transhumanism and that kind of the trajectory that we seem to be on?
We are in that order already. But I go back to the fight against slavery. The order of slavery was to turn black enslaved people into robots, cut sugarcane to make money, to pack bananas to make money. If we put making money before human beings at this time in human history, then we're doing what we've seen in Jamaica, in Melissa, in the destruction of the planet Earth. Question is whether human beings have the agency to be able to organize to create a new society. Clearly, the political leaders in Jamaica of both political parties are doing a disservice to the Jamaican people in clarifying to them what is the meaning of global warming, in clarifying to them, to the people of Jamaica, what is the meaning of the United States blockade against Cuba. The Jamaican people do not need a government to explain how people got their eyesight restored in Jamaica by Cuban doctors. The Jamaican people do not need the government to tell them that the United States supported the apartheid government. The Jamaican people do not need the government to explain to them that Israel is carried out genocide in Palestine. And this is the time to go back to draw from the innermost strength of the Jamaican and Caribbean people that brought us the social movements for justice. We could not have created a Garvey movement internationally without coming from the wellspring of the opposition to that robotization. So let us go back to that inner spiritual strength of our people that cannot be destroyed and build that up with our knowledge of how to save the planet Earth and to turn back the violence of fascism and proto-fascism that is coming from the leadership of the United States of America.
Thank you so much, Prof. I really appreciate your time and your ability. You're really good at helping us to understand how to view these changing times. Your book, Global Nature, is phenomenal. I think we should all be reading this. I think in a way it was predictive to Global Nature, because you literally saw this coming, didn't you, Professor Campbell?
Oh, most definitely. As in Global Nature, we ended the book by saying that in 1935, Italy invaded Abyssinia. And when Italy invaded Abyssinia, which is now called Ethiopia, the world turned their backs against black people when they said that this is bringing fascism. And we had World War II. Italy not only invaded Abyssinia, the Japanese invaded Manchuria, the Spanish Civil War started, and the Germans started the Second World War. After the invasion of Libya in 2011, we said that unless we curb France, Britain, and the United States, this is bringing us war in West Asia. And we've seen it now.
Yes.
The war that expanded from Libya, across Chad, West Africa, Sudan, Egypt, and across to Palestine. It is the time for international law to hold the United States and Israel accountable for the genocidal war against the people of Iran and the people of Palestine. As we speak, we have many people of Lebanese descent in Jamaica.
Yes.
And 1 million persons have been removed from their homes in Lebanon. More than 1,000 persons have been killed. Certainly, those in Jamaica who come from Lebanon must also raise their voices against this genocidal war. And they cannot be supporting the state of Israel that is destroying Lebanon and has destroyed Palestine and continued this war against the Palestinian people. So, yes, we predicted that. But just as how Padmore and James and Garvey, especially Amy Jiggs Garvey, created organizations so that when the war ended, they rapidly moved towards political independence in Africa and in the Caribbean. So it is now we should set up the infrastructure for new Pan-African organizations for peace, reparative justice, cooperation across global Africa, so that Africans in Brazil, in Colombia, Venezuela, Cuba, the United States will be at one with the Africans in Africa that are fighting for peace, because this destruction we see going on in Iran has been going on in the Congo since 1960. So we cannot separate this kind of warfare that is against the African people. The African people have a vested interest in overthrowing the capitalist system that is destroying the planet Earth and plundering the resources of the planet Earth.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much once again. I hope you come back, because I want to have a further discussion with you with the League of Nations and the United Nations and the same rules-based order that Mark Carney talked about, the rupture, where the United Nations rests right now on the backside of this, and how it resembles the League of Nations and the Emperor, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie's speech to the League of Nations. Kind of remind me of what I saw the foreign minister from Iran did at the Security Council, and what happened on the backside of that. So I want to put all of that in perspective, if you'll come back and have a conversation with us about it.
Thank you for having me. And the social groups in Jamaica, Hail Up to Muta, and those people who are spoken word artists who have used the platform of the spoken word to educate the people. So I big up our Jamaican cultural leaders who have not only been cultural leaders in Jamaica, but cultural leaders globally. And these our cultural leaders must raise their voices in this time for peace and against the Zionist destruction in Palestine and in Iran.
Thank you so much, Professor Horace Campbell. Once again, Professor Campbell is a peace and social justice activist. He is also a professor of African American Studies and Political Science at Syracuse University and a chairperson of the Global Pan-African Movement, North America chapter. He is the author of Global Nature and the Catastrophic Failure in Libya. Please get your copy. I'm very pleased that I'm getting texts already from persons who have said that they are purchasing the books that we've spoken about. People have actually bought already, Vereen, so you know, the gender violence in Jamaica and the Caribbean, and I have quite a few who have and are still sourcing the Global Nature. So thank you so much for that. A quick break. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.